One question can illuminate a choice you've been circling. Not by forcing urgency, but by helping you see the shape of your life more clearly. Welcome to One Question, a short weekly reflection to help you reconnect with your body, your values, and your truth. This week's question is, if nothing changes, what will that cost me? Now, I want to begin really gently here because this question could feel heavy. It's not meant to scare you. It's not meant to push you into some dramatic action. It's simply meant to offer perspective. Because when we're considering change, a move, a career shift, a relationship decision, a creative leap, most of us naturally run through risk calculations. I know that I do. I can be very worst case scenario, very what is my plan B? I look at financial risk, logistical complexity, emotional impact. And that thinking isn't negativity. It's actually grounded in something very human. From a neurological perspective, our brains are wired to detect threat more strongly than opportunity. It's called negativity bias. It's been studied extensively in cognitive psychology. And it's where potential losses carry more psychological weight than potential gains. It's why we rehearse what could go wrong, why we plan for contingencies, why uncertainty can feel so uncomfortable. And honestly, some of that thinking is really wise. It keeps us resourced, prepared, clear-eyed. But there's a question we often forget to ask alongside it, and that question is this one. If nothing changes, what will it cost me? Because staying still is also a decision, and decisions always have outcomes. Sometimes the cost is financial. It's a missed opportunity, stalled growth, or remaining underpaid or undervalued. Sometimes the cost is emotional, frustration, resentment, quiet dissatisfaction. And sometimes the cost is spiritual. And I don't mean that in some grand mystical sense necessarily. I mean the subtle erosion that happens when we consistently move away from what we truly desire. Abraham Maslow, Maslow's needs hierarchy guy, wrote about self-actualization, the human drive to become more fully ourselves. And he said something that I have found profound over the years. He said, "What one can be, one must be." Oof. Let me say that again. What one can be, one must be. Not as pressure, but as recognition that unrealized potential often doesn't disappear quietly. It shows up as restlessness, as discontent, as the sense that something inside us is underused or unexpressed. From a sociological perspective, we are also shaped by norms that reward stability and predictability. Staying put is often validated, and not just by your mother, but by life. Changing direction can be questioned by everyone. So inertia becomes really socially comfortable, even when it's personally misaligned and just crushing you spiritually. Over time, those misalignments accumulate. There's an idea in behavioral economics known as status quo bias. This is where humans tend to prefer maintaining their current conditions, even when better alternatives exist, simply because change requires energy and uncertainty. So not weakness, but wiring. This is how we're wired. But awareness of that wiring gives us choice. When I ask myself this question, I don't do it to frighten myself into action. I do it to widen the lens, to consider not just the risks of movement, but the implications of standing still. Because sometimes the answer is reassuring. Sometimes nothing changes, and that's perfectly aligned. It's peaceful, it's intentional. But other times, the answer is clarifying. I begin to see the cost very clearly. The cost of staying small, the cost of postponing my curiosity, the cost of not exploring what I genuinely want. And that awareness often creates motivation that fear never could. Not frantic urgency, just a grounded willingness to take the next step. And listen, I want to emphasize this. This question isn't about burning everything down. This is not like light a match and walk away. It's It isn't about dramatic reinvention. This is about an honest inventory. Maybe the change you're looking at is a conversation. Maybe it's setting a boundary or correcting the course you're on. It can be a single application, a first draft, a small experiment. Change rarely arrives as some big giant leap. More often, change arrives as movement, first movement. So I'll leave you with this week's question. If nothing changes, what will it cost me? Sit with it gently. Notice what surfaces, not as judgment, but as information. Because when you understand both sides of the equation, the risks of change and the costs of staying, you're no longer reacting, you're choosing. You're in the driver's seat. You have agency. Thank you for joining me for One Question. If this reflection stirred something in you, give it some space. Curiosity is often the first step toward clarity. Until next week, be kind to yourself, trust your body, and always ask better questions.